Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Gaming News. What's in the news today? EA has been sold. Not for their soul, though. They got rid of that a long time ago. All right, before we jump in, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications, all those good buttons to help keep you up to date with things we like to talk about, video games. Let's jump into it. Electronic Arts, the maker of video games like Madden, NFL, Battlefield, and The Sims, is being acquired by an investment group, including Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund, Saudi Arabia, the people that helped bring you 9/11. The investors, who also include a firm managed by Jared Kushner, President Donald Trump's son-in-law, and the private equity firm Silver Lake Partners, valued the deal at $55 billion with a B. EA stockholders will receive $210 per share. The deal far exceeds the $32 billion price tag, almost double. $32 billion price tag to take Texas utility TXU private in 2007, which had shattered records for leveraged buyouts. PIF, which was currently the largest insider stakeholder in Electronic Arts, will be rolling over its existing 9.9% investment in the company. The commitment to the massive deal is in line with recent activities in the gaming sector by the Saudi fund, wrote Andrew Marek. The Saudi PIF, P-I-F, I had to spell it out because it sounds weird when I say it, has been very active player in video game markets since 2022, taking minority stakes in most scaled public video game gaming publishers, and also outright purchases of companies like ESL, Facet, and Scopely, he wrote. The PIF has made its intentions to scale its gaming arm. Savvy Games Group, Clear, and the EA deal would represent the biggest such move to date by some distance. PIF is also a minor investor in Nintendo. That explains Donkey Kong. The deal needs approval from national security regulators on the Committee of Foreign Investments, given that the Saudis are involved, but there are plenty of reasons to expect it will go through. Let's see, I don't need to talk about that. It's a bunch of political crap. The family business has been paid by Saudi-backed LIV Golf for hosting its tournaments and its clubs for the PGA, blah, blah, blah. So essentially, EA, I don't think we're going to see them set in the desert anymore for Battlefield games. So this is something, $55 billion. I mean, I got a lot of jokes I want to make, but I'm not, because I'm a person with respect and dignity.
All the Battlefield 6 weapons are brought to you by Saudi Arabia.
Shane doesn't want to become a person of interest in any type of investigation.
Airdropped in.
That's right. No goats were harmed in this game. All right. So $55 billion. That is a crap ton of change. EA, I think it was 70% of their income was just in DLCs and expansions and all that crap. So I don't know if this is, I mean, the value was like $32 million, I believe the article said, and they sold it for $55, $210 a share. That's a lot of money. I don't know how I feel about it personally, because EA, I really probably only play Battlefield. That's for the most part of their games I play, but they do publish some stuff I like. So I don't know if those developers will continue with EA now that they have new owners, but we'll just have to see. So let's go to Pat, because, Pat's not as respectful as I am. So let's get his opinion on this. Pat, what do you think? $55 billion for EA. Is it worth it? Does it end the game?
That's just short of the Microsoft $65 billion.
Mhm.
So for the
Yep.
studios, they got, and that to some of me goes, does this really make sense? But I mean, I think I was looking at some of their earlier incomes, and they were making like $6-7 billion in revenue. So it does seem a little high to me, but teach their own. But what this does mean, what I think I read in the article, that they're going to take on, EA will take on $20 billion in debt. So they're going to take on that debt, the part of the purchase plan. So what typically happens with that? Yeah, typically what happens with that, which is not normal for the game industry when something like that happens, the buying company doesn't assume the debt, but we're going from a public to a private company, so they're going to assume.
And that is true. I don't think I said it right.
Yeah, and that's a lot of. I mean, that's a large amount to take a company back private, right? Because they're going private, they're not going public. That's why the whole stock buyout, every dividend or every stock will pay out X amount of dollars. I am worried because usually when this happens, companies restructure, lay off people, projects get shut down. In a normal company, when this happens, I'm not, like I said, I don't have video game companies to compare this to, but I work for companies. I've been around companies that went public to private, and it's kind of a scary deal there. Like they shrink, they contract a lot because, and to me, that stifles innovation, which is what gaming industry lives on. The gaming industry lives on innovation. If you don't innovate or improve of some type, then
you're
going to die. You're going stagnant. Yeah, you're Ubisoft. You're going to go backwards, right? Which I'm surprised they haven't taken them private yet. So
there was rumors there for a while that they were trying to. So
I mean, so what I am worried about though is I'm pretty sure this means that BioWare is not going to be making anything new for a while. Some of the games that I love.
There was talk, there was articles from BioWare, or some developers of BioWare, or maybe former developers of BioWare, were worried that BioWare, with this move, that BioWare would no longer be around. Yeah, they would dismantle and get rid of it completely.
And which is a stupid move to make, because that also means that the anticipated, because I'll be honest, the last Mass Effect wasn't great. It was good. I enjoyed it. I played it. I beat it. Because I'm a huge Mass Effect fan, but it wasn't Mass Effect in the trilogy, because it to me, it felt more of like a spin-off than it is, because it was in the Andromeda Galaxy. I was looking forward to all the hype that's been about the next Mass Effect, how it's supposed to pick right back up in the Milky Way after the events of Mass Effect 3. And this kind of dashes a lot of those hopes for me, that we'll see another game. I think this will be one of the canceled projects. And if they close down BioWare, then that probably means the end for this game, right? They're just going to shelve it until they're ready to pick back up, which maybe never. Because BioWare's not had a good track record in the last, especially with the Dragon Age game that came out. I mean, that was just some straight up. Like I love BioWare. And it's hard for me to say this, but that last game was, the last Dragon Age was really rough. I beat it because I love Dragon Age. I love the lore, but they took the lore and drug it through a pile of horse manure and just like flung it around, just ran around circles around the track with it. And was like, here you go. We're showboating this, but we really didn't do anything with it. Right. I felt like it was a big game that had had a big promise, and it has a lot of lore and stuff to deliver. Did they just like skim the surface of the lore and said, here's what you get? This game has no substance. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It just felt shallow to me as a game. And so that's my biggest fear, is that that's going to get shut down. BioWare is going to go bye-bye. And, and I know that BioWare is not the same company as it used to be, but with BioWare going away, that means a lot of the franchises that I love are going to go away, because those developers that were in original BioWare team are long gone, but they can't redo Mass Effect because that IP is owned by EA, or, by BioWare, which EA. So, and so that's what scares me about it is, I don't know. They will shrink. They will have some layoffs. We'll see layoffs in all their studios start happening if the buyouts approved. They'll shrink down, and we won't hear anything from them for a long time, probably, while they're just buckling down, trying to figure out a way to be profitable enough to pay off that $20 billion debt that they're taking on for this buyout. I do not understand I don't know what this company that's buying them is thinking, really. That's a lot of money for a company that's revenue doesn't make sense what they're doing in revenue today. I was trying to find the numbers on their last earnings call. Let me see if I can find something on it. Cause yeah, that's really what, like I said, I didn't think that their profits equaled that. Let's see. What does it say? So yeah, they make $7.46 billion in 2025 so far. So their net income is low, $1.12 billion. Their operating income is $1.52 billion. They have $12.4 billion in assets and about $6.39 billion in total equity. So I don't understand the valuation here to take them private. It's going to take a long time for them to pay off the $20 billion debt they're going to incur from this. It's just dashing my hopes for a next Mass Effect, and that's very disheartening to me. But there's nothing I can do about it. Just hope that they don't get shut down. But I'm not going to hold my breath.
Well, we could put our money together, guys, and buy them.
So we can come up with $12.65. Is that what we all pull together?
I can also throw in
$3.50.
I can also throw in a banana cream pie.
I can throw in an empty plastic cup. So
Nick's got a dog.
and see if we can get BioWare along with its IPs.
Yes.
But
Matter
yeah,
of fact,
so I mean,
we'll just take Mass Effect.
You just want the one, yeah. So like I said, that's my fear, and I used to think that this was a good idea sometimes. Like this Saudi Arabian company, I've not looked too much at their portfolio, but it's not promising on the game side for me, at least not for me. I may be missing some key thing here, or just not catching all the details that I need to catch. But to me, this seems like a bad deal for the EA and their franchises, and us as gamers aren't gonna see those games come to fruition that we were promised, or that we were told, hey, this is coming, because Mass Effect's probably not going to be out. Even if it stayed with EA, it's probably not going to be out till like 2028, or something like that, I would imagine. But that's me. I'm saddened by this. But you never know. EA could screw it up themselves without this other company help. We know EA is not the best, the smartest, or the greatest company. They just kind of blended in the background the last 4 or 5 years, because they were known as like the worst gaming company around, and then a bunch of other companies came out and be like, hold my beer.
Oh yeah, if I could do that, hell
yeah, yep. And so EA just kind of quietly like went just fade into the background, just doing what they always did.
Yep.
And now they're being bought out by this investment company. Anytime a company gets bought out by an investment company, one of two things that I always see happen. They're either are they already public or private? If they're already private and investment companies buying them and bring them private, they usually inject cash into them to help them become more profitable by scaling production or whatever. And like I said, I have no experience of this in the gaming industry, because this usually doesn't happen when this stuff happens too often, private to public. But if an investment company buys major stock or takeover amount of stock in a public company, they usually shrink the hell out of them, right? They're like, how can I get this company closer to what I bought them for in valuation, so that then I can, with assets, and sell off a bunch of assets and increase their value more, so that I can turn around in a couple of years and sell them off, as an investment company. I don't think this Saudi Arabian company is trying to be an investment company. I think they want to be a long-term holder, which means they're going to shrink the hell out of this company for long-term planning and strategy. But Nick, what do you think, man? What do you think this buyout? What do you think is going to happen to EA with this buyout?
It's no bueno. It's not. I don't think it's good. I think ultimately, I think you're right in that. I don't know their long-term goals, but it feels like with the price point that they bought it at, they're going to turn around, inject it with a bunch of cash, and then like bury it into the ground. A lot of companies have done that. That's kind of what happened to Toys R Us, right? Whenever it got bought, it got injected with a bunch of money and then to fizzle itself out.
Yep.
And that's where they skim off the top of that, right? And so I think the same thing's going to happen here. So I would suspect, if I were to guess, right, and it's a total guess, we don't know what's going to happen, but I would assume within a few years or so, EA may not be a thing anymore as a company. Because I'm wondering, like, with this move, what is the NFL going to do? Are they going to redo their contract for Madden? I don't know if they will or not, right? And so that's a big profit that EA gets that they could potentially lose from this move. Potentially, we don't know.
EA make all the soccer games too, right?
The FIFAs?
Yeah.
Didn't they lose that?
I thought they lost that license.
They lost
that.
Okay. Yeah, they now have a different soccer game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I don't know who has it now. Yeah. But I mean, they still have Madden, but we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I read that potentially with this buyout that BioWare is going to be basically a lot of developers, a lot of people still with BioWare or were with BioWare think that BioWare is going to get cut, completely. That'll go away completely. And it also makes me worried for like future games from EA, games that they publish, such as, me and Shane. Well, me and Shane are big Battlefield fans, and like that makes me worry for Battlefield and the future of that franchise. Like, what's going to happen with all that? I mean, I'm hoping with this that a lot of developers that are with EA somehow are able to break off from EA, like DICE is able to break off from EA, and maybe BioWare is able to break off from EA, and a lot of these other companies that they own potentially, and somehow, are able to break off from the company and go out on their own. I'm hoping that's the case, but we'll see. I mean, yeah, and I don't like, foreign investments into American businesses and stuff like that. I mean, it happens all the time, but
and the PIF is, wishing was talking about that Public Investment Fund Group. It's basically owned by Saudi Arabia. I mean, the country of Saudi Arabia owns that. They've been, I think I read somewhere that they're the largest wealth fund in the world and have like about $941 billion in assets and all that kind of stuff, or what do they call that? Assets under management, AUM. So, and it's owned by the government, which is just kind of weird to think about it, but
it's no bueno.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right language for this.
Right. But so, I mean,
no, it's a horrible thing. First of all, like Pat said, and Pat's absolutely right. They're going to squeeze people out because they want to keep the profits made, but lower the cost. And who's the biggest cost? People. So they're going to have Johnson working over at DICE start making Madden and, Battlefield at the same time. They're going to be squeezing their developers. And
well, I mean, what they probably will end up doing is like, you won't have innovation or new games from EA. You'll have the same franchises that make them money, right? And that's
which is what EA does now, though.
Yes, but this will be to the extreme.
They're going to make it worse, right? That soccer game or that Madden game no longer becomes a yearly release. It's a live service game.
Right. Like it's updated every 5 days or something.
No.
Yeah.
Look now,
they
we
change the team every week.
We need that battle pass, and it's like, oh, this team is running new uniforms. Oh, well, you need to buy that DLC for that new uniform or pay this.
Right.
What we were dreading is pay this monthly subscription so you can get access.
Yeah,
to
like
the
Madden subscription thing or something.
Yeah, and that's a terrible and good point.
I mean, EA already has a subscription model, but yeah, I mean, EA Play, but I mean, ultimately, yeah, I feel like what's going to happen is, this could be the end of EA ultimately in the end, right? As we know it, or altogether.
Yeah. I don't know overall how EA has been doing financially, if they've been dropping over the years. I don't. I just know they used to be a top developer, and like Pat said, they were always voted number one crappiest company. But I think it is the end for them. I think it's the end for most games. It's only going to be Battlefield. It's only going to be Madden. It's, they might try squeezing in a new development here or there. Maybe, maybe a cross play between Madden and Battlefield. I don't know.
Battle Madden.
Battle Madden. Let's play some football. Pow, pow. I don't know. It's sad because, even though I don't like EA as a company, the gaming industry, they're pretty historic. It's just like Ubisoft. They're a shit company and they haven't done well, but they're part of my gaming history. They're part of my childhood. We just got to hope that, like you said, Nick, that some people survive. DICE, let them buy their way out. Let them take their toys and go. Just let them be. It also, what's going to happen, because they publish a lot of games too. Hazelight Studios, Split Fiction, It Takes Two. Where are they going to go for the publishing now? And I'm sure they won't have a problem, because for a small company, they're huge because their games have done immaculately well. But they also publish other games, other studios, and that makes me worry about them. So it's not just the in-house, it's the outhouse too. You got to worry about. So.
Well, it also, that brings up a good point, because things like Hazelight or anything else that they have because I think they get published under the like indie banner for EA, right?
They do.
The EA's like indie banner thing. So I don't know how that works, if that's contracted or every time they make a game they have to re-up. I don't know how all that works with their indie title section of things, but and depending on what developers think of Saudi Arabia on a political side of things, that's also going to scale whether or not the next time Hazelight makes another game, if they go with EA or not, right? They may not. They may end up going with some other publisher for that, right? Or even new developers coming into this gaming sphere may not look at EA as an option.
So, I mean,
and
I will
say,
say,
a good point though about the politics of it. Sorry, Pat, but that's a good point. The whole politics of the thing, there's a lot of people that, don't like Saudi Arabia. I made a crack at the beginning, but it wasn't a crack. I mean, they're rumored to be involved with 9/11. So, people are going to look at that and, well, I don't want to give him any of my money.
I mean, maybe, yeah. But I think, so, I mean, this is more ammunition for me talking about them closing studios. I just looked it up. EA has 6 games that they focus on that drives the majority of their revenue. I'm sure you guys can name them.
Madden 24, Madden 25.
every year worth of Madden.
So the games list is Apex Legends, Battlefield, college football, EA Sports FC, which is a soccer one now, Madden, and The Sims. So if you're not on that list, I think you're probably getting cut. Now, they do say that they have a very small, free to play thing like Skate Revival, and they're trying to turn that into another, multiplayer game to make money in, is what they're trying to do. So, but I think if you're not in their top 10 money makers, you're probably going to get your project shelved and that team either dissolved or shift around, which I hate. I don't want that. I want, as much as we talk shit on EA, they own some of our favorite studios through acquisitions, or it's something they own themselves from where get-go or whatever, and they make good stuff. EA as a parent company is just kind of like the drunken stepfather or whatever, is always beating the mom or whatever. That's EA as a company, but the mom is a good person and makes good games, and so does the son and the sister and all this stuff. And it's just like, well, I like them, but I don't like them. And now, as you said, there's people out there that are going to hold Harbor ill wishes towards them because they are now owned by Saudi Arabia, and they're like, oh, I don't put my money in that company's owned there, whatever, and that's everybody's right to do, do with your money with what you will. It's your money. And that's what we always say, vote with your wallet. But that to me is also something that's going to hurt them, but it might help them now in that now there's going to be a huge patriotism for the Saudis, right? Because now they can say, hey, these games are made by a Saudi Arabian company and that their own people are going to invest more into it, right? They're like, hey, our PIF fund owns these, which means it's state owned or country owned, however you want to look at it. So now we're going to be like, we're going to buy into this. We like their games now, right? They may have boycotted them because they were in the Middle East in Battlefield and they were blowing up buildings and destruction in the Middle East. But now they're going to be like, well, we own that company now, so we should invest in it or buy it now because of it, even though we hate where Battlefield has set its backdrops to. So,
they've got a 35 million population, so I didn't quite put that to the thought. That's true, but and I honestly, and this is not to sound racist, I don't know enough about Saudi Arabia and the religion and all that. Do they play games? Are they big gamers? I mean, I know they got cars. I mean, they like cars, but I don't know if
they're a lot
video
more
games are allowed, or I don't know crap about it.
Yeah, I think they're one of the more open or freer of the Middle Eastern countries. Like, I think, if you look at like when people go to Dubai looks like just any big ass city in the Western culture,
True.
So, I think that they probably do play a lot of games. I bet they do. I guarantee if if we could find like gaming sales figure for Saudi Arabia, it's probably pretty big. They have a what did I see? Like a $1.2 trillion GDP. I think they have somewhere in there. Yeah. So I don't know, it's hard to say, but I think, I don't know. I think it's a bad idea and a bad move, but it's not my money. So,
if somebody offered me 55 billion or, enough for a Big Mac, I'd sell them my kids. So I need money. But
so yeah, it said in 2024, not 2020, 2024, Saudi Arabia generated $1.19 billion in gaming revenue. So last year they generated, and that's sales of games and consoles and all that stuff. So, which I'm pretty sure is a small drop in the bucket when you compare it to like the U.S.
Oh yeah.
But our GDP is like almost 30 trillion.
Well, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of fallout from this. I think in every aspect that we've discussed, I think from the politics of it, I think it's going to cause fallout. I think the developers are going to be squashed and they're just going to go bye-bye. There's going to be a lot of problems with this. I agree with Nick. I don't want to see a foreign company, buy up, all this American company stuff, but we are a world economy too. So we have to keep that in mind. So, but my biggest fear is just losing games, with this. Pat's absolutely right with that. I don't want to lose my games. I don't want to miss out on the next 15 Maddens. Not that it's going to happen, but games like Battlefield, me and Nick are passionate players of that. We love it. The new Battlefield betas we played, even Pat was in there just smoking them.
Yeah. And when Battlefield 7, which is not going to be taking place in the Middle East, comes out, that's going
to be based in Louisiana.
It's going to be taking over the United States. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with, it's time will tell, but I just hope that bad crap doesn't happen to the games that we love and know and companies and stuff. Right.
Yeah. So, they own stakes in the thing I'll say about PIF is they own stakes in companies, but they don't own or control hardly much of the gaming industry, but now they'll own a giant in the gaming industry. I don't think they know what they're doing, and it's going to,
Well,
it's gonna cause a very bumpy road with EA over the next 5-10 years. Yeah, so I don't think they have the experience needed to own and run a gaming company. So hopefully they either buy them and let them run with some rails, and then, or because if not, they're going to put their fingers in there and be like, oh, that's why the gaming industry doesn't run this way.
oh,
This company is hemorrhaging money, because game companies hemorrhage money until they put out a game, and then they make that money up in strides. And then while they're developing their other game, they're just hemorrhaging money, right? I mean, you think about it, it's a very much a wave in game developers and publishers, right? That's why
shipping.
That's why game publishers exist, right? This development company is like, hey, I want to make this game, but I can't afford to make this game. So a publisher comes in. Yeah. Publisher comes in and says, hey, I will help you publish this game, give you some money when we take first dollar up to X until we get paid. And then you will get this, but we take a percentage of profits or whatever, Yep. So that's why publishers exist, to help those developers out. And now you're getting a company that's not familiar with that. Hopefully they've hired some people or what, but I don't know. I do think that as long as they let EA operate the way EA has been doing, they might be okay, but I don't think that they will let them, because EA has been losing money quite a bit here lately, I think.
I think they're going to bring on Don Matrick to show them how it's done.
Bobby Kotick,
Yeah, Bobby's looking for employment. I hope he gets sand in his ass. All right. Yeah, it's not a good thing. It's a scary thing. Basically since, COVID hit, the gaming industry has been just ravaged left and right. I mean, buyouts, closings, just price increases. It's been a weird several years now. And I'm scared as hell where the gaming industry is going. I mean, it used to be my biggest worry about the gaming industry was everything going mobile. Now just everything going to hell. So, you guys got anything else you'd like to add before we take off? Calm down, Nick. All right. You made it to the end. Let us know what you think. Do you see this as an opportunity for EA to become something better? Because they have been a crappy company. Just say it like it is. Do you think this is a really bad thing? How do you feel about, who's buying them? How do you feel about the investors that are involved? I mean, there's a lot going on here. So let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, notifications, all them cool buttons down there. And we'll see you next time. See ya.